Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. Verdict in the 7/11 Mumbai blast case, 5 sentenced to death, 7 others given life imprisonment. Second Made in India warship INS Kochi commissioned in Mumbai. Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar says it will ensure dominance in the Indian Ocean. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj meets BRICS leaders at the UN, gets backing for India's UNSC bid. And protest by the Madhesi community continues over the new Nepal constitution. Hundreds of trucks stranded as the crisis paralyzes cross-border trade with India. For the top story this evening, a special Mokoka court today pronounced the sentence in the 2006 Mumbai serial blast case. 5 of the convicts have been sentenced to death, while the 7 others have been handed life imprisonment. The victims have welcomed the sentencing, saying it brought some amount of closure.
Death sentence for 5 and life imprisonment for 7. That's the sentence handed down by a special Mokoka court in Mumbai. Special Judge Yatin Shinde pronounced the death sentence to Kamal Ahmed Ansari, Mohammad Faisal Sheikh, Ehtisham Siddiqui, Naveed Hussain Khan and Asif Khan. All 5 were found guilty of planting the bombs that killed 189 people.
9 वर्षों के लंबे ट्रायल के बाद आज इस केस का फाइनल जजमेंट आया है और इसमें जो 5 लोग हैं जो प्लांटर थे उनको फांसी की सजा दी गई है और बाकी लोगों को अलग-अलग सेक्शन के तहत।
मैं तो दादर से चढ़ा था और मुझे बहुत चोट लगी थी। ये तो सजा हो गई, शायद आज अभी 5 जन को सजा हो गई है, तो वो मेरे हिसाब से जिनको लगा था, चोट लगी थी, जिनके घर बर्बाद हुए, उनके लिए एक अच्छी चीज थी।
The blasts had ripped through local trains within a span of 10 minutes between Khar Road, Santa Cruz, Bandra Khar Road, Jogeshwari Mahim Junction, Mira Road, Bhayandar, Matunga Mahim Junction and Borivali. Arguments on the quantum of sentence concluded last week with the prosecution demanding the death penalty for 8 of the 12 accused. However, the convicts claim innocence.
The evidence in this case is shoddy, to say the least. It's not fit for conviction, let alone a death sentence.
वो सुनकर मुझे बहुत तकलीफ है और मैं बहुत दिल से मैं दुखी हूँ, इसलिए कि वो सब बेगुनाह हैं। पिछले 9 सालों से मैं उनके साथ रह रहा हूँ और मैंने देखा है एटीएस ने किस तरह से मुझे फंसाया है, उनको फंसाया है और जज को और कोर्ट को मिसगाइड किया है, धोखा दिया है।
हमें ये उम्मीद है कि जब हम हाई कोर्ट पहुँचेंगे तो इंशाअल्लाह फैसला इन मुल्जिमीन के हक में होगा। जो असल मुल्जिम थे उनको पकड़ा ही नहीं गया, असल मुल्जिमों को, बेगुनाहों को फांस दिया गया है।
The ATS charge sheet filed in November 2006 named 30 accused. Of these, 17 are absconding, including 13 Pakistanis. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, the Navy destroyer INS Kochi was commissioned at the Mumbai Naval Dockyard today. It's the largest ever warship built in India, equipped with state-of-the-art weapons and sensors. It was designed by the Navy's in-house organization and was constructed at the Mazgaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited in Mumbai.
It's made in India and is the largest and arguably the deadliest the Navy has in its fleet. INS Kochi, the second warship with multifunction surveillance and threat alert radar, was commissioned by Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar on Wednesday in Mumbai.
Its finish is as good as any foreign ship, which I think is a tremendous improvement. Let us take a oath that we will develop a real blue ocean navy, a navy which can dominate the Indian Ocean region.
Weighing 7,500 tons and with a length of 164 meters and 17 meters at the beam, the stealth-guided missile destroyer is propelled by 4 gas turbines. It can achieve speeds in excess of 30 knots. The warship has a vertical launch missile system that can take out long-distance targets on or off the shore. It is also packed with anti-submarine arsenal, including indigenous rocket launchers, indigenous twin-tube torpedo launchers, and bow-mounted new-generation Hamsa sonar dome.
It is equipped with the state-of-the-art weapons and sensors, some of which have been developed by the DRDO and manufactured in the country by our public and private sector industry.
It is also equipped to operate 2 Sea King or Chetak helicopters. The ship has a complement of about 40 officers and 350 sailors. The first of this class, INS Kolkata, was already commissioned in August last year. The third warship, INS Chennai, will be inducted towards the end of 2016. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And we're joined by Rear Admiral K.R. Menon to help us understand as far as this step by the Indian Navy goes, certainly a milestone, Admiral Sir, but in terms of naval history and making things over here ourselves, not importing them, how big an achievement is this?
This is one of the finest indigenous achievements of the country. Naval shipbuilding has always been a star as far as indigenization is concerned, and this ship is certainly one of the brightest stars of the indigenization program. It's a very fine effort. It's a beautiful ship, and as the announcer said, it's packed with weaponry and sensors. It's a great achievement.
All right, and you're saying it's packed with weaponry and sensors, but just in terms of a comparison, and given the fact that there are more such similar ships being commissioned by the Navy itself, INS Chennai will be coming out soon. So in that sense, how does it rate to other ships across the world, other naval forces?
I think it rates with the best of the ships coming out from other countries all over the world. Among the things that were not mentioned is it's got a phased array radar, and its radar coverage against incoming missiles and aircraft is superb, and it's also connected for network-centric warfare, and along with ships of the same kind which are also connected for network-centric warfare, it can take instant decisions in a very complex tactical scenario, and from that point of view it's state of the art. It really compares with the best that's coming out in other parts of the world.
All right, and in terms of modernization of our naval fleet, how do we stand in terms of an overall picture? Because there has been a lot of impetus, but has enough happened in terms of just getting the ships out there?
Yeah, there were some incidents that rocked the Navy a couple of years ago, but that's been left well behind. As far as indigenization is concerned, we have made great strides as far as surface ship building is concerned. We have to make the same strides in submarine building and also in aircraft carrier building. Unfortunately, our aircraft building program has not kept pace. So, as far as naval aircraft are concerned, we are still dependent upon foreign purchases. But this ship is a fine achievement. It's a very fine achievement, and nothing can minimize that.
All right, we'll leave it on that celebratory note of achievement of indigenization of the Indian Navy. Thank you very much, Rear Admiral Menon, for coming in and helping us understand this naval achievement for us. Well, moving on now, the BJP President Amit Shah addressed party workers in Begusarai district of Bihar today, targeting the Janata Parivar's election campaign. He said its leaders were misleading people on the reservation issue and diverting attention from the development agenda.
बिहार चारा चोर लालू के नाम से जाना जाता है.
BJP chief Amit Shah trying to weaken the RJD's group on OBC voters over the reservation issue, claiming that his party had always supported quotas and didn't want changes in the policy.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी वर्तमान आरक्षण व्यवस्था का समर्थन करती है और इसमें किसी भी प्रकार के पुनर्विचार की विरोधी है. आरक्षण के नाम पर बिहार की जनता को गुमराह करने के लिए प्रयास हो रहा है जिनके पास मुद्दे नहीं है.
Shah was addressing party workers in Begusarai town on Wednesday afternoon. Taking a dig at the Janata Parivar leaders, he said only Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government would take Bihar on the course.
बिहार की जनता को अपराध और भ्रष्टाचार चाहिए या विकास चाहिए? बताइए क्या चाहिए? विकास चाहिए तो लालू नीतीश की जोड़ी नहीं ले सकती। नरेंद्र मोदी के नेतृत्व में भारतीय जनता पार्टी ही विकास ले सकती है। ये सरकार भारतीय जनता पार्टी की बनती है तभी बिहार में विकास होगा।
Shah also praised the Prime Minister's overseas visits, claiming that Indians everywhere recognized him more than any of his predecessors.
नरेंद्र भाई ने दुनिया के अंदर भारत का सम्मान बढ़ाने का काम किया है। नरेंद्र भाई ने दुनिया में भारत को स्वीकृति दिलाने का काम किया है। और जब यूएन के प्लेटफॉर्म पर श्री नरेंद्र मोदी को, इस देश के प्रधानमंत्री को, भारतीय जनता पार्टी के नेता को हिंदी में भाषण करता हुआ सुनते हैं तो छाती गदगद फूल जाती है।
Underscoring the political significance of the Bihar election, Shah also said the election will decide the direction of national politics. He told party workers that people opposed to the BJP's ideology will campaign against it in Bihar. The 10 districts that will go to polls in the first phase include Samastipur, Begusarai, Khagaria, Bhagalpur and Banka. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time now to take a look at other national news stories in Nationwide. Around 100 children fell ill after consuming midday meal in Agra on Wednesday. According to reports, the children started vomiting after having milk service part of the scheme. At least 12 children are in a severe condition and investigation has been ordered by the district magistrate of the city. 3 infants have filed a PIL before the Supreme Court through their legal guardians, asking for urgent measures to bring down the fatal pollution level in the national capital. The plea demands a complete ban on the use and sale of firecrackers, sparklers and explosives during the Diwali celebrations. The Maharashtra government slapped a 5% tax on petrol, alcohol and cigarettes to tackle drought in the state. Price hike in gold and silver is also expected. Fuel hike of 2 rupees will be applicable from Thursday night as well. The decision comes after last week's Niti Aayog meeting. The Income Tax Department conducted raids at the houses and offices of Tamil actors Vijay, Nayanthara and several others. Around 25 places in Chennai, 3 locations in Thiruvananthapuram and Hyderabad were also raided. IT department said that the raids are part of an investigation on the alleged use of black money in film production. Well, time for us to take a very quick break right now. On the other side, we'll talk about all the international news. The battle rages over Afghanistan's Kunduz city that has been captured by Taliban militants as lawmakers demand President Ashraf Ghani's resignation. More on that on the other side.
The poll juggernaut rolls out in Bihar. Modi's NDA takes on Nitish's Grand Alliance. Who will win this most important election battle since 2014? Watch Verdict 2015, Monday through Saturday on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj had a packed schedule on day 1 of her US visit. She met the foreign ministers of the BRICS nations, which backed the reforms in the United Nations. She also held trilateral talks with the US and Japan to push for India's membership in the APEC, that's the APEC, and discuss Prime Minister Modi's visit to the UK next month with the British Foreign Secretary.
India's push for a place in UNSC got backing from the BRICS nations when External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj met her counterparts in New York. Despite differences over India's bid, China and Russia were among the nations to reaffirm the need for UN reform to make it more representative. They also discussed the agenda for the next BRICS summit to be held in India next year.
For us, it's very significant because India is going to be the next chair of BRICS, commencing February 2016. So it's an important meeting from that point of view for EM to hear the views of the other foreign ministers on how they see the BRICS evolving, what are the emergent needs, what more needs to be done.
India also pushed for an early membership in the APEC when Sushma held talks with her US and Japanese counterpart in a trilateral meet. Sushma raised the issue of maritime security and freedom of navigation amid the South China Sea crisis.
We see a strong connect between our discussions today and India's Act East policy. It is in this strategic context that India seeks an early membership of APEC. I would like to work with both of you for India's early membership of APEC.
The minister also met British Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond to discuss Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to UK in November. This will be Modi's first UK visit since coming to power last year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The crisis in Nepal has severely affected its cross-border trade with India, leaving the neighbours high and dry. Running short of fuel and other food items, Nepal has accused the government of imposing an unofficial trade blockade over its new constitution. India has denied the charges, but the crisis is steadily putting pressure on the relationship between the two nations.
Protest by the Madheshi community continues over the new Nepal constitution, and it's having an adverse impact on the people who depend largely on India for supplies.
यदि आप जबरदस्ती भेजते हैं तो यहाँ तोड़ फोड़ आगजनी भी हो सकता है, इसलिए विनम्र आप लोग से आग्रह है हम लोग का कि आप जो है हमारे आंदोलन में जो है बिथोलने का काम न करें.
With hundreds of trucks stranded, supplies of essential commodities like sugar, salt and cooking gas cylinders has been hit.
इंडिया से कुछ माल नहीं आता है, नेपाल सब ऐसे होता है. हमारे पास कुछ खाने के लिए नहीं है, काठमांडू में उधर कोई माल वाल नहीं जा रहा है.
Nepal has blamed India for choking the supplies. As a mark of protest, the government has ordered to block out Indian TV channels. The centre is likely to evaluate the situation after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's return from US on Tuesday. Leaders have sought his intervention to ease the tension. Despite Nepal's assurances, there are fears that it could turn to China for supplies, hampering trade with India.
No, we've got trade with all the countries, especially with South Asia. And with India, we have more trade because we share the large volume of trade, portion with India.
If India is appearing to create problems, and this is what the feeling in Nepal is, then there are powers waiting like China to jump into the fray immediately and fish into troubled waters. We should not allow that to happen.
India has welcomed steps taken by Nepal government to hold talks with the agitating groups to end the political crisis. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And fighting continues in Afghanistan's Kunduz as the government forces battle Talibani insurgents to retake the city. US strikes have halted a Taliban attempt to seize the airport. The fighting comes as a major setback for President Ashraf Ghani, who is being blamed for mishandling the situation.
Gunfire and rocket attacks in Kunduz city, where US-backed Afghan forces and NATO special troops are mounting counter-strikes against the Taliban.
We strongly condemn the attacks in Kunduz and stand with the Afghan people in our commitment to Afghanistan's peace and security. We will continue to work closely with President Ghani, the Afghan government.
For Afghan President Ashraf Ghani, a victory over Taliban is crucial, especially when his government has just completed a year in office. Taliban had its biggest victory so far in 14 years of war when they seized the city on Tuesday. Amid growing calls for Ghani's resignation, fingers are being pointed at his mishandling of the battle. At the UN, the Afghan government blamed Pakistan for the Islamist insurgency.
ما میخوایم به تمام وطندارم اطمینان بدم که قندوز تحت مدیریت است. از این جهت ضرورت
The presence of terrorist sanctuaries and support networks in Pakistan continue to cause trouble inside Afghanistan. The Haqqani network has been identified as the main culprit. It needs to be dismantled and has been our demand in the past.
Residents fleeing the city came under fire. Afghanistan's spy agency said the strikes had killed Taliban leaders, a claim denied by the Taliban. Many feel the siege of Kunduz give hopes to Taliban insurgents who were deeply divided over their leadership just a few months ago after the death of Mullah Muhammad Omar. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now have a look at all the other international news stories in Global Buzz. Russian President Vladimir Putin today got permission from the Russian parliament for bombing raids in Syria. This was 2 days after he spoke at the UN for calling an international coalition to fight the Islamic State. The Kremlin said the use of armed forces will be limited to the use of the Air Force. Typhoon Duyuan flooded cities and trapped residents in Zhejiang province since its landfall in East China yesterday. Heavy rainfall caused waterlogging. Road maintenance crews later cleared the debris, allowing traffic to resume. Polish soldiers checked for landmines at a site where a Nazi train full of stolen goods is allegedly buried. The army is also deploying radiation and explosive experts outside the southwestern city of Wolbrytz in Poland to investigate the potential hazards before excavating the site. Some sports now, and it was a forgettable night for the English teams in the Champions League as both Chelsea and Arsenal slumped to defeats on Tuesday night. However, defending champions Barcelona and Bayern Munich won their matches.
Arsenal's hope to reach knockout stage in the Champions League suffered a serious blow after they lost 2-3 to Olympiacos at home. The Gunners equalized twice after falling behind. But Alfred Finnbogason ensured Olympiacos their first win on English soil. Arsenal remain pointless in Group F after 2 successive defeats.
It leaves us in a bad position, but we are still in it. You know, we have to, of course, think that we can deal with Zagreb and with Olympiacos, even away from home. And we have to make a result in our next game against Bayern at home. But we are not out of it.
Chelsea's perform this season continued as they were beaten by Porto 2-1 in Group G. It was Porto's captain Maicon who scored the decisive goal to beat Chelsea.
I think it was a good performance with 2 ridiculous mistakes. And sometimes you make that kind of mistake and you are not punished. We were punished.
In a Group E match, defending champions Barcelona had to come from behind to beat Bayer Leverkusen. 2 goals in 2 minutes from Sergio Roberto and Luis Suarez have put them at the top of the group. In Group F, Bayern Munich thrashed Dynamo Zagreb's 5-0, ending the Croatian team's unbeaten run in 45 matches. Robert Lewandowski continued his sparkling form with another hat-trick in the game. He now has scored 10 goals in his last 3 outings. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, that's all from us. Goodbye.